Hey, deserving listeners. So this is part 2 in my mini deep dive detour from Love is Blind Season 8, in which I go back and watch some key scenes with Alex and Madison, keeping in mind my definition that I shared in the last member video of trauma dumping. This term is being used a lot on the internet and in society, I think in very problematic ways. And I am developing, or have developed, fairly elaborate definition of trauma dumping and its legitimate usage, because I think trauma dumping can be used legitimately. But we have to define it, and we have to not just be using the term to stigmatize people who talk about their issues in a consensual back and forth sharing experience. But anyway, so let's watch some more of this.
Looking back, I wouldn't change any of it.
Yeah.
But when I'm in a room now, I can sense like who isn't being included, and I really like I want to include them, and it makes me happy to include them.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was brutal.
I was also bullied. Not as bad. But I mean, I don't know if it's different for like, you know, girls and guys. Like before I got braces.
I'm not going to show all the bits here, but I will highlight that it's been back and forth. She started to share, and he said, tell me more. Then he shared, or he started to share, and she said, I want to hear about that. Then now she's sharing. So there's a lot of evidence that this is not trauma dumping, meaning lack of consent.
Trip them or something.
You can beat them up for me.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, Madison, you're very calm, and I love your presence.
Oh, thank you. I was thinking the same about you.
You are definitely at the top of my list.
I love it. You are too. I don't want to say that too early, but with you, I feel confident.
I'm excited to keep talking to you. I really like you, and I think you're awesome.
Thanks. The feeling is very mutual.
I have been talking about my definition, my proposed definition of trauma dumping, because as far as I could find, there's no formal clinical definition of trauma dumping, or at the very least not one that I think encapsulates all of it. And I've already talked about the definition that I'm still kind of working on. But one of the elements is consent and also context. You know, I laid it all out earlier, but we're seeing another potential data point indicating that what had happened in this date, in which they both shared a lot of what I guess people might call personal traumatic experiences, or at least the topic sentences of those experiences. There's a fair amount of evidence at the end of this date indicating that they were not overwhelmed or harmed or invaded or non-consensually dumped on, right? Because they're both saying, oh, that was really great. I feel so. Not only are they not indicating that it was an invasion, a trauma dumping, but they're saying they liked it. So this flies in the face of the claim, so far anyway, of anyone trauma dumping. Big surprise there.
Are you close with your family?
I'm close with my siblings. My brother, Roman, who's 10 years younger than me, and then my sister, Sophia, who's 12. My brother, Brett, who is 4 years younger than me, is named after Brett Favre. I don't know if you're familiar with the Packers. You know.
Pause. I am a huge Packers.
All right, so this is the first date that Madison has had with Mason. When we were watching this originally, we didn't know what was going to happen in their future. So knowing what happens in their future it's interesting to rewatch these scenes for me. But we're seeing a different approach, at least in the edit, from Madison regarding talking about her trauma history or her childhood. In this date, there is a different vibe. And I don't know what's going on in Madison's mind, but it's quite possible that because right now they're going back and forth talking about their families. And I didn't remember, but I was pretty sure this didn't happen, and it didn't happen, that she would launch into the same stories that she was telling Alex. And I imagine that given the way that Mason talks, and also the way that Mason talks about his childhood, there's nothing negative in there. It doesn't mean there isn't anything negative, but there wasn't any indication of that Madison is maybe not in the mood to share her trauma or her issues, or detects that there isn't necessarily a comfort level, or at least not an indication of a comfort level or willingness or an openness to talking about that sort of thing. So there's that. I say all this because the allegations or the claim that Madison was trauma dumping, I had heard it later on, and I was only revisiting in my mind what I remembered about what had happened. And I suspected that upon rewatching, I would disagree with the claim that she was trauma dumping. So it's panning out as such as I'm watching at least the initial bits here. So I just thought I would point that out. By the way, the rest of this video will be for members of the YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to the member section. I'm going to watch more of this. I'm not going to watch every bit. I'm just going to highlight certain scenes, because if I watch every bit, I'll be here forever. But I also am going to provide the second half of my lecture on trauma dumping. So if you want to see that, become a member of this YouTube channel. Otherwise, please take care of yourself, truly, because you deserve it. You really, really do.